Well, I'm not as pretty as the Kardashians, but I decided I wanted to make a video anyhow. Lately, the town that I grew up in, Memphis, has monopolized my thinking. Some of the things that I grew up with there were wonderful, and some of the things not so wonderful. But I wanted to make this video to those of you that are from Memphis, that knew me as a teenager and a young adult, and a young child. You know who you are. You may not recognize me from back then if you haven't seen me in a lot of years. I used to have a big fat head of hair. I got electrocuted when I was 28. I believe that this basically killed all my hair follicles, and within 2.5 years, all my hair was gone. Along with a myriad of issues that I had to deal with as a result of that, many injuries. Those of you that don't understand or know what I went through when that happened, I'm going to just explain a little detail about it. You remember when you were in high school and you had to do those biology experiments with electricity? You know, they would tell you to hook this up to a frog and watch how its muscles contract. Well, those were dead animals. And basically what you were doing was just demonstrating that the muscles contract with electricity. Well, my muscles, my entire body contracted. For several seconds, I was, being shocked, and to this day don't know how I got off of it. I believe I had some angelic help of some kind because there was nobody there to help me physically. Anyhow, I got off of it, and as a result of it, I had many injuries that I sustained. Some were not readily recognizable because they were overlooked due to the obvious injuries, which I had 5 herniated discs. I had 2 in my neck, 3 in my back. I tore the cartilage in my knee. I severely sprained one of my ankles badly because I fell backwards on all my weight on my back. I'm lucky I didn't break my ankle, but I did some severe damage to it. In any case, as a result, I also got an irregular heartbeat. I did not know about my hair at that time. I found out about that a year and a half, 2 years later. But initially, I was unable to work for 9 months. I went through therapy and, just to get back to normal. And I had to go to a work program for therapy to relearn how to do things without injuring my back. And I was told I needed an operation, and I refused to have it. And I decided I was just going to do the best I could. I took the restrictions, no weight over 25 pounds, and I dealt with it. I learned how to work without injuring myself, and I was very meticulous about it because it ain't fun dealing with a back injury, and I still hadn't gotten my neck right at that time either, but now. But as a result of all of that, I also had permanent nerve damage in my body. My muscles, my tendons, my tissues, whatever. Everything was affected by that 7 seconds of electricity coursing through my body. Not all of it was bad. I mean, the result is you have to take the lemons and make lemonade out of it. That's the only thing you can do with a bad situation. And I just did the best I could with it for many years. But, the initial impact of it, the physical, and then the emotional part of dealing with it, took its toll on me. I was always a borderline alcoholic, but particularly when I was younger, growing up as a teenager, I began drinking at a very early age and, other things, but primarily alcohol was my biggest abuse problem as far as substance goes. I never considered pot to be an issue, and it never really has been or was or will be, an issue, except for the legal shit that I went through as a result of it, unnecessarily, But for the most part, I went through a process of dealing with these injuries, and then after that, other things started to come out, or, as a result of the injury, and as a result of the electrical stimulation, I could not deal with fragrances that I used to be able to deal with. I couldn't be around cologne, perfume, makeup, hairspray, all these things that, I got allergic to a lot of it after I got electrocuted. Before that, I didn't have a problem with it. I could wear cologne, I could shampoo my hair, whatever I did, I didn't have a problem with it. I could be around women and not get sick, but it was something that I had to deal with, and it was something I had to overcome, or I could just clamp myself off in a room by myself and never be around anybody, so I was forced to deal with that. I hadn't lost all my hair yet. Before I met my ex-wife, I had not lost any of my hair. When I met her, I had a full head of hair, and we dated, went through some shit, got married, I had a kid, blah blah blah, But before any of that happened, I had a repressed memory episode, okay, where something in my childhood came to light. And it was because I got electrocuted, I think, that this was allowed to happen. I think it was a wake-up call to me. Because for the entire 80s, I was self-destructive and suicidal. And I never really understood why I was that way, but I was. And I mean, I knew what I thought the problem was I had a problem with my sexuality, as a result of something that I went through when I was a child. When I was 11, my parents were asked to let somebody stay at our house for a special weekend for USY. And this person stayed in my bedroom and took advantage of me and basically started a relationship with me, one that I thought was based on affection and interest, and I thought he wanted to be my big brother, or to, that's the way I took it. And I didn't have a big brother. I had a big sister I didn't get along with. I didn't have that much of a problem with her prior to this. I mean, we just were different, but after this, our relationship went straight down the tubes, you know. Not really knowing why, but Stacy was a couple of years older than me, so she was moving on in her school years. She had her own issues, and I didn't, you know, understand her problems, and she didn't understand mine. But most of my problems were not understood because nobody knew what was going on, or at least they didn't do anything to stop it. Anybody that saw me with this man knew that something was not right. I mean, it was just too weird. You know, but it was allowed, and it wasn't something that you would think is possible because of who he was. I mean, this was a man that portrayed himself as a religious person, Orthodox, kept kosher, sang as a cantor at the synagogue, Beth Shalom, the one that I grew up at with Rabbi Becker, and a man that I adored, only to have my abuser share the same last name. You know, that was very difficult for me to understand after I came to this, you know, situation the way I did. But this person basically, you know, and to this day, they don't want to take a whole lot of credit for how I turned out, you know, because in their mind, they really didn't do that much bad to me, but they did. See, the age and the timing of my abuse is what allowed for much of what happened to me to be more a part of my personality than the abuser wants to give credit for. You know, I give a lot of credit to my abuser, but I also give a lot of credit to myself for overcoming what he did to me, and still be able to make it to this point in my life. After so many different things that happened, I shouldn't be here. You know, I literally should have been dead several times over by now, and I'm not. You know, I'm not doing too good health-wise, but I'm not dead. Of course, I don't really feel the same way about death as most people do. I don't even really use the word, you know. I prefer to use the term moving on. You know, when it's time to go, it's time to go. It was not my time to go so many times before, or I wouldn't be here. So I'm here for a reason, and I want to make sure that I leave something behind. You know, I made a video about legacy, but I didn't really talk about anything, I don't think, you know, specifically in that video. But I'm talking to the people of Memphis, my community that I grew up in. You know, I grew up right down the street from Temple Shalom, Temple Israel. We lived right on the street at the end of the cove, and that is where my abuser used to pick me up every week. You know, you know, I'd sneak out of the house at 12:30 and go meet him, and then we'd drive around the city, and you know, he did his thing to me while I was driving, like it was no big deal. And you know, that can really fuck with your head. I mean, it fucked with mine a lot after a certain time, you know.